Here, 3, 2. Welcome to Tigers Tonight. I'm your host for tonight, Brian Moss. Our normal host, John Maddox, is sailing the 7 seas, so I'll do the best I can steering this ship tonight. And with me is the best co-host in the land, Larry Marley. Larry, how you doing tonight?
Hey, John. I'm John. I'm sorry. Hey, Brian. It's just you and me tonight. And again, this is the second time we are both in the state of New York. I'm actually staring at the Empire State Building as we speak, and you can hear some background noise. So I am actually in Manhattan. God help me. But yeah, and this is a really special thing we're going to do tonight. We're not actually going to preview the season, right? We're going to talk about something that's really, really changed the face of college athletics this year.
That's correct. And our special guest is the CEO of OpenDorse, Blake Lawrence. Blake, thank you for having us on. And just do a little intro. How did you get started with OpenDorse? And it's been a year with Memphis and OpenDorse, and just the progress.
Yeah, certainly. So first of all, thank you all for having me on. And Memphis has been a great partner. Your fan base is rabid supporters of college sports, both in football and basketball and every other sport on campus. It's been really fun. So I'm thankful to be here and share our story. Personally, for me, I grew up in Kansas City. I'm a Midwest kid. I got recruited to play football across the country, ended up in Nebraska. Started at linebacker for a couple of years for the Cornhuskers. And then in 2009, I had to step away from the game forever. I had suffered 4 concussions in a little over a year. I was forgetting my name, where I was, the plays. And despite what you've seen in Nebraska football lately, guys, we used to have to know the plays, all right? So I stepped away from the game and started OpenDorse shortly thereafter to really, as a technology company, to help athletes use an app to make as much money as possible during whatever window of time they have. And we started with professional athletes, so we, in 2012, started working with NFL players and MLB players, NBA players, and, helping them use just the OpenDorse app to make money by posting on Twitter, recording shout outs for brands and fans. And today, now that OpenDorse has really expanded into the college space, there's 80,000 athletes that use OpenDorse every day to make money through NIL deals. And we make sure that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're getting paid on time. And it's a really enjoyable experience for fans and brands and businesses that want to work with athletes. So it's been fun. But it all started with realizing that anyone in the sports space, their career can end too soon. And if they have the right tools in their pocket, they can make as much as they can and create as much impact as they can in that small window.
Nice. And, take us back to when did Memphis contact you guys, or when NIL first started come about and, you hear it down the pipelines, did you approach colleges? How did that come about where you and Memphis teamed up?
What's interesting for the listeners out there is that NIL is new to college sports, but NIL is not new to sports, right? NIL is now the term you talk about college athletes getting paid, but athlete endorsements have been around. So Memphis, when this was coming about, they started looking at the market and say, what do the pros use? Like, the professional athletes have to use something. And they found OpenDorse. And we have been the sole provider of technology to the athlete endorsement industry in the pro space since 2012. So Laird and the team at Memphis said, we're going to bring what the pros use to our student athletes. And that's really how the relationship started.
And, I guess for the first year, it was, you saw, in my opinion, I think you saw more of, businesses trying to do those NIL deals. But now this year, I think you see more fans getting involved. Is that a trend that you think that's going to continue?
It's definitely going to continue. And that's one of the things that, with Memphis launching the official Memphis Tigers NIL marketplace, I mean, we're one of the first schools in the country to team up with OpenDorse to make it incredibly easy for fans to go on and ask a Jonah Gamble or Brandon Thomas or Davian Carter or Kendall Lee on the softball team, ask an athlete directly, would you record a video to motivate my son to go have a great day at school, or to work hard at practice, or to surprise my cousin for their birthday? Like, these very simple fan interactions that may cost $20 to $50 to $100 for the fan, creates a cool experience for the fan. But then for the athlete, that's some real walking around money. I know that a lot of the media coverage about NIL is about tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million deals. But for the majority of student athletes on campus at Memphis, to be able to step aside, spend 30 seconds to a minute creating a life-changing video moment for a fan is worth $50, and it's worth a lot more for the fan. So those are the types of interactions that we're looking to create. And Memphis, again, was one of the first schools in the country to have a full-on NIL partner, and one of the first schools with an NIL marketplace fully in effect for the fans.
Is, how can small businesses benefit from, doing an NIL deal with OpenDorse and a player?
Yeah, one of the things that most small businesses have, questions about when it comes to NIL is, where do I go? What do I do? And what does it cost? Right. And what OpenDorse is built to do in our partnership with Memphis is answer those questions. Like, you can go to OpenDorse.com and you can start to figure out that you can do appearances and have athletes from the team show up to your small business and maybe draw attention from customers and increase foot traffic, right? Or you might be able to impress that client you're trying to sign a big deal with by having a couple of the Memphis Tigers players on site. Those types of moments that you're usually looking to create some sort of spark. Student athletes are a great place to do that in a way that maybe $5,000 towards paying 10 athletes $500 each to come and show up to your small business would have a great return on investment. Again, if you close that big deal, that may not have happened without that type of experience. So student athletes can create that type of experience, and OpenDorse.com or the Memphis Tigers NIL marketplace are places to start. And you can have a conversation with our team to help navigate that as a small business, or do this thing all on your own. And I think there's a lot of reward in making it easy for anyone, from a small business and to fans, to book NIL deals with athletes in a really simple turnkey way.
And is it still different state by state with some deals that you can and can't do? Let's just say like alcohol, you like Budweiser, could they, sign a Tiger for something, or is there some type of laws against that?
Yeah, there are some rules and restrictions, and I would have to look up specifically, what impacts Memphis, but there are rules. And one of the things that OpenDorse does, this is in the weeds real quick, but when a student athlete at Memphis receives a deal through OpenDorse, they can auto disclose that deal straight to the compliance office, right? So then the compliance office can review all the offering and all that, and they can directly communicate to the athlete, say this is good to go, or this is going to be against the rules. So we've built this technology over the last decade, and spent tens of millions of dollars building this tool to make sure that athletes are following the rules every time they get a deal. And again, that's what Memphis gets, is to use the tools the pros use, and the pros are certainly not going to do a deal that gets them in trouble. And the college athletes aren't either, and especially Memphis college athletes, because they're using OpenDorse. So there are rules in place, but OpenDorse is built to make sure that the student athletes are aware of what those rules are, and the school is aware, so that when a buyer comes in, they can offer whatever they want, and then our system will make sure it passes all the tests before that athlete shows up and does the rest.
Larry?
I'm sorry, guys. So you touched on this a minute ago. So this isn't just for people like I played college football, but at a much lower level from you, and so this isn't just for the upper level men's basketball programs and upper level SEC, Big Ten football programs. This is for athletes at all levels. Tell us how this would assist, for example, a women's tennis team or something of that nature.
Yeah, certainly. So do you know Lauren Robertson, women's volleyball player at Memphis? Just throwing the name out there.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You booked a deal this morning with a fan, right? You got Micaiah Brooks, who's in the women's basketball team. You know, she did 2 deals today, with one with the business, one with a collective, right? That's in that market. You've got football players, and just on down the list, I could name off an athlete from every sport on Memphis's campus that is leaning in and using NIL to make a buck or two. And that's the important part here, Larry, is that this is not just for the top dogs. I mean, this tool is built to give athletes their own platform to make money. And if we can help those athletes make $10, $100, $1,000 or $10,000 at a time, it's all relative. And the expectations are different at different sports. So for the common fan, again, you're going to be obsessed with the $10,000, $100,000 deals and Memphis men's basketball players. What we need to know is that if a softball player makes $100 here or $1,000 there, that's some real impactful things.
So, in that vein, give us an idea, because you just said, like, we all hear about these huge deals that, players from Memphis get, or players from Alabama will get. What do you think the average deal that a college athlete will sign?
Well, that would be, depending on sport, but let's talk about like the average compensation per activity. So for men's football in 2021, so the first year of NIL, right? So from July of 21 through June of this year, football, the average deal was $730, right? The average deal for men's basketball, $932. The average deal for women's basketball players in the first year of NIL was almost $1,300. So what you're seeing there is that there is a high density of high dollar deals for women's basketball players, more so than men's basketball players or football. So, those are the types of things. But, when you're talking about how much an athlete gets paid on average for some of these deals, you're looking at, a range of $50 on the low end for things like men's fencing. I'm looking at the data here, women's ice hockey, to $1,300 on the high end per deal for women's basketball players. So there's the range on the per deal level, but on a per athlete level, again, you got athletes that are proud to take home $100. There are athletes that used OpenDorse to make over $2 million last year.
So I know that a lot of people think this is just for, you've sort of touched on this already, but this is just a way for high-end boosters to funnel money to, men's basketball and football players. Give us an idea of what the average person who's participating in this is. Obviously, these aren't millionaires, right? These are just people like us, correct?
Yeah, certainly. That's the opportunity for people like us. If you like the general sports fan, this is the year the fan starts to take over NIL. Like, where when you're in venue, you'll see at Memphis that there's a billboard or marketing, that says, hey, go support our student athletes here. And you might go, and if an athlete has a great game, you might go and pay $50 for him to record a video shot that says, hey, thanks for coming to the game. And you get to show it around the tailgate, and say, hey, look, the wide receiver just got that game-winning touchdown pass with that big, tackle in the third quarter. He just sent us a shout out saying, thanks for coming to the game. But when you think about the momentum of that, if 100 Memphis fans spend $100, like that, there will be $10,000 in that athlete's pocket by the end of the day. And it is a lot easier for 100 fans to make a $100 decision than one business to make a $10,000 decision. It just is, guys. And so this is where, when fans understand the impact they can have on NIL, if they have a place to go, they know what to do and what to cost, then it's going to pick up speed. And that's what this marketplace is built to have. So hopefully when you share this, you guys will send a link out to the Memphis NIL marketplace. Say, guys, if you want to support our athletes, just go buy a shout out, go request an autograph, ask for an appearance, and then see how much you change the life of student athletes at Memphis and really create a cool experience for you and your family.
So how much impact, in your opinion, will this have on, Brian, this is your bailiwick, but recruiting? For example, if an athlete sees a kid who gets $10,000 in this. Have you seen that affect recruiting at all? And maybe I should ask Brian that, but I mean, this seems like a way for us as fans to, I don't want to say level the playing field because that can't happen, but to at least participate in some of that.
Well, I mean, I will say that you guys might have some inside scoop on the impact on Memphis recruiting, but I will say that in our relationships, like I'm in a fortunate position, guys, that at OpenDorse we are called upon to provide insights to a lot of different groups, and I spend a lot of time with the top quarterback and you know, high school football recruits in the country, just educating them and their families on NIL. And what's interesting is that at the top level of recruiting, in football specifically, that it's awkward to have NIL be a leading question, right? Which it's not, you don't want to make your decision based on NIL, but it's ignorant to not ask about the NIL potential, because nobody on this, you know, listening in right now would say, well, you know, I don't care about the money. Like, it's funny to say and easy to say, but like eventually you still want to know what it is, right? So you need to understand that every family and every recruit is going to ask the question, like, for players like me on teams like yours, what's the NIL potential? And what coaches are coached to do is give tangible examples and to say, I can't promise you anything, but what I can say is that our current tight end group, the average player is getting paid XYZ a month from NIL. And they didn't say anything that athlete's promised that, but that they're indicating what the potential is. And fans that are listening, a lot of them put their hands up and say, somebody's got to pay these kids. Somebody's got to pay them. Well, wait a second. What if the fans started to get involved and actually they're the ones that make the impact? Collectively, the fans can have a larger impact than one business individually. And I think that's where this is going as an industry.
Brian?
All right. We're getting close to the end of the interview, so I want to know, what is the craziest deal that you've seen? Maybe you don't have to say who it was, but just like you look at him like, oh, that's pretty, maybe not crazy or interesting, just something that you thought was like, oh wow, this is really cool, and this is what really NIL is about.
Yeah, I would say what's really about, if you guys haven't seen the video of, and this is a little homer for me, right? But DeColdis Crawford, okay? There's a wide receiver at Nebraska. His name is DeColdis Crawford.
Love that.
He is the new face of a HVAC company that'll fix your air conditioner in Nebraska. And he, in the television commercial, he just stares at the camera and he says, I'm always the coldest. And that is the funniest thing, because it is literally name, image, and likeness. He's getting paid because his name is the coldest. And so that's a good example of it. We've seen more plays on words like that. Like Sam's Club did a deal with every kid named Sam. We had a shampoo company called Jason Shampoo that used OpenDorse to do a deal with every kid named Jason. I mean, they're literally playing into the name part of it. So yeah, there's some things that are fun, right? And I think those are the ones that there's two sides to NIL, guys. Like there is the bona fide NIL, the athlete-driven NIL, where kids are getting paid because they're working their tails off to build their NIL value, and they are worth something to the businesses that work with them, or they're worth something to that fan that's paying for a lesson, an autograph, a shout out, whatever it is. That's one side. Then the other side is the athletics-driven NIL, like where these kids are getting paid a high amount from sponsors and donors because of their impact on the athletic department. And that's okay too. Like those things are both good. The more fun stories happen when it comes down to like the actual name, image, and likeness value. And so I'll give you one that I think is tangible. Like one of the coolest things I've seen is a women's volleyball player getting a request where, you know, a fan at this program just wanted to show his daughter like what it was like to be a college volleyball player. She's young, she's in her, you know, preteen years, and said, hey, I'll pay you $500 to just give a tour of campus for my daughter. so she can see what it's like to play college volleyball. And afterwards, the feedback was that was the most pivotal moment for that father, that daughter, and their relationship, and her desire to play volleyball. Like, that's NIL in its purest form. And if anybody that's listening said, like, man, I could see myself doing that, like, that's what Memphis has created, is a way for you to do that through this NIL marketplace.
Yeah, and the ideas for companies and fans out there are really limitless. I mean, you can really, fans that are listening, we hear it when we do our podcasts and our message boards that we wish Memphis could get some of these players or could keep some of these players. Here's your opportunity.
Yep.
Sort of like put your money where your mouth is, and this is the opportunity.
It is, and the thing is, it's OpenDorse. Our job is to make sure that these athletes are learning something along the way. So there is no way to pay an athlete through OpenDorse without getting something in return. So you're gonna get an autograph, you're gonna get a shout out, you're gonna get an appearance. Like, you're gonna get that moment that you're gonna realize, like, oh, this is what NIL is about. Like, I know everybody wants to maybe just put $1 or $2 in a kid's pocket, but that does not teach them the value of this lesson of NIL. And by the way, the 901 fund, what that's happened in Memphis, is one of the most structured, well-run collectives in the country. And so I don't know if anyone is critical of or in support of, but that group and what they're doing, we work with the biggest collectives in the country, guys, like that, from Oregon to Texas to Louisville, and those size and scale and scope. And Memphis is right there with them. Like, they know what they're doing, and they're doing things right. So just keep that in mind too, is put your money where your mouth is from the fan side, but also respect that there's people working their tails off to do it right on the collective side too.
And before we let you go, don't you wish NIL was around when you played?
I would have loved to.
Hell yes.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska football, a linebacker at Nebraska, 2009, we were the #1 defense in the country. I think Ndamukong Suh would have taken most of the NIL money from us, but I think it could have made a buck or two. And the entrepreneurial athletes, guys, if they lean into it, they work their tails off, they can make a buck. And I know at Nebraska, it would have been quite a bit. But Memphis sports and Memphis student athletes, it matters a lot to that community. I know that. Being a men's basketball player at Memphis, being a Nebraska football player, like, those things, that is peak earning potential in college athletics. There's no doubt about it. She's got to tap in and make it easy, and that's what we're doing together with the athletic department.
Nice. And another question before we let you go. What do you see Memphis football doing this year? What's your prediction?
Hey, I know that if I'm as informed as I am now before the start of the call, I still got Memphis winning it, and hopefully this doesn't get too far outside of this fan base. But there's something about looking at them kind of in that 5th spot in the conference, and I think sometimes these preseason pundits don't see it all or don't get it all. And when you're in that 5th spot, the motivation that comes with saying, no, we should be #1, it matters a lot in the locker room. So let's get it right, get it going. But they have a good team there. I mean, in terms of the way that the program is run, we've done some education sessions, and it's just respectful players. They get what they have to do when it comes to this NIL stuff. If they can handle their on-field business at Memphis the way they've handled it off the field, then they should have a winning season. I mean, they should have a winning season in a big way, because they're buttoned up, right? So that's what you hope for, guys. And I'm telling you, we're partners with more than 100 schools across the country, so we get to see a lot. And they're buttoned up over there, so if they can translate that to the field, they'll be all right.
Well, we certainly do appreciate your time. And
how do we find you online?
Tell folks where they can find you.
Yeah, Blake_Lawrence on Twitter. And that's probably the best place to see me. I tweet all day about name, image, and likeness, athlete endorsements, athlete marketing. So if you want to see behind the scenes of how this industry works, just follow me on Twitter. And you'll also see what other schools across the country are doing. But again, I will emphasize that Memphis is one of the first to say we need the best. We've been partners for some time, and I see us being partners for a long time based on the success we've had in the market, and that's a lot due to the support of the fan base. So we're thankful.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Blake.
All right, y'all. Be good.